AITA, aka Am I the A-hole, is a Reddit little thing that you may have seen on TikTok, with the little like Subway Surfer guys in the bottom. Basically, they explain a situation and they ask the commenters if they are the one to blame for the situation. And today, I am joined by Imperial. He's going to debate me on things, maybe if he believes differently than me. Here we go. Here's the first AITA. So I, 27 female, am a black African woman. I'm living and working in Germany for a fixed period on secondment. What is secondment? You know what that is?
Yeah, I got no idea.
That's okay. We are in America, so I don't know what secondment is. Maybe that is in America. While here, I became quite friendly with a colleague, 60 female, and she invited me to her daughter's wedding. I was excited as I've never been to a white wedding. I asked if there was a dress code / color scheme to adhere to, since it wasn't specified on the invite. I was told the code is dress to impress. Bet! Okay, so already, bro, why is she saying bet after the fact? How are you about to say bet after the fact when you're already saying, am I the a-hole for outshining the bride? Let's just keep going. Day of the wedding, I understood the assignment. I wear my traditional wear, which is really beautiful and obviously not German. The garment is green, so no problem there. Or so I thought. I get a lot of questions, compliments at the wedding, and I genuinely downplay because it is not my day. My colleague seems colder than usual, but I pay no mind since she's the mother of the bride and could be preoccupied. The bride is downright rude to me, but I give her grace. I congratulate her and thank her for including me. I get a tight... Is that supposed to be a straight face? In response. What is that? What is that emoji, bro?
I think that's like either like a shocked or like a straight face.
Okay, whatever it is. I keep to the edge of the room as the music isn't really my vibe, and I'm observing how European weddings work. I leave around 8 after 5 hours and go home before the wedding finishes. Monday. So this is where we're going to get the payoff, yeah? I walked in to whispers in the office, people acting strangely and more reserved than usual. She said actually instead of acting, I'm pretty sure. An office friend pulls me aside and fills me in. Bride's mother is fuming. My outfit was too extravagant. OTT, over the top. I don't know. Am I mansplaining here, chat? And inappropriate. Let's go. I'm not mansplaining. How can you mansplain to a man? Is that a real thing?
No.
I draw attention from the bride and commanded the room. I was rude and disrespectful. She's told all about it, apparently. I approach mother of the bride and ask to speak, but she says she has nothing to say to me. I ask her why she has say everyone else about me, but not to me. And she calls me an insolent child. So at the current moment, I feel like it's honestly the mother of the bride's fault for not specifying more closely what she has to say. I explained to anyone who scolds me that this was my first white people wedding. That's crazy. That is crazy. I'm not saying that I would ever say the reverse, but if anybody did say the reverse, that would be kind of crazy. That would be crazy, okay?
Bro,
not on that bandwagon, but I don't think that white people wedding is any different than other groups' wedding. I've been to a white wedding. I've been to Catholic weddings. I've been to Italian, etc. I've been to all the different types of weddings. There is small, minute details, but not to that extent. I specifically asked what to wear and followed the guidelines. Where I'm from, there's no such thing as outshining the bride. Weddings are a fashion show and a chance to wear your best and brightest clothes. They tell me it is in Africa, which was racially coded, and people here have manners. Okay, that's kind of crazy, though. That one is kind of crazy. That's very crazy. I laughed and told the person to go to hell, and so she's telling people I lack remorse for my behavior. I'm wondering, am I really the asshole, though? Okay, so what's your opinions on this, Imperial? I just want to hear you out. before I say my opinion.
I think the person that told her to dress to impress is at fault. Because you can't tell someone to dress to impress, and then when they show up looking good, you hate on them.
Okay, no, I understand. I understand. But what if dress to impress means dress, you know, business size, Dress to impress in like a interview type of way,
Yeah, but they didn't say that. They just said dress to impress.
No, 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 that's valid. That's valid. And there's a lot of I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, I'm trying to take the other side because ultimately, we have okay history 7114 side of the story. We don't have the mother of the bride side of the story. And I will say, I mean, that might not be the correct thing to do. I mean, ultimately, like maybe she could have got asked even more in detail, what does this mean? Well, how does this work? I'm not from this country. I'm not from here. She was from Africa, by the way she says it. And she was in Germany. So is it that she was, she mistook it? She didn't understand cultural issues in her current place? Also, I feel like, I don't know for sure, but outshining the bride is a thing in every single country. Like that's kind of a no-no. Ultimately.
I don't think that, like, even if personally, I've been to like one wedding, two weddings, but I don't think that even if she did outshine the bride, that's like,
How's it going, co-maker?
I don't see how you can possibly outshine the bride just because of a dress.
Okay, I don't think you've been married though.
That's true.
I've been married, and I won't lie. I don't think that this didn't happen at my wedding. Because I was too focused on, Kayla, and I was really, like, involved in my wedding, I really cared. I didn't really care about anybody else except her, And
Yeah.
personally, I know that if somebody was dressed up in a giant gown like Kayla's, she would have been put off by it, though.
That's true.
And my mom would have been put off by it.
I see where you're coming from.
And on top of that, my wedding was it was an elopement out of my home city, which also means that some people could have dressed over the top, over her even,
Yeah.
I think I made my decision. I think that the writer is an asshole. But also those comments that came at her at the end were absolutely uncalled for. That's all I'm saying. I think she could have asked for more clarification on what dress to impress meant. And on top of that, maybe even sent the dress she's going to wear to the person so that she absolutely knew that she wasn't going to be wearing something wrong. She comes from a different culture. She's not known in the culture. If I was personally in her position, I would have sent whatever I'm wearing to the person to make sure it's okay.
I see.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at the edits real fast. The dress inspo I showed to my tailor is now on my profile to help you. I actually kind of want to see it. Let's make sure it's okay, though, to see. Okay, bro, this is not a wedding-ready dress. That is not a wedding-ready dress. Hold on, bro. Not trying to be weird or anything, but that is for a very showing off dress. I won't lie.
Yeah, I think I agree with you now. I can't lie.
That's a crazy dress, bro. That is actually crazy. Okay, edit 2, real quick. I'm about to board a flight. Someone told me to go back to my country, so I'm doing just that. Is that a real thing? Thanks for the feedback. I'm guessing not the asshole, but could have inquired further, done research. Fair. Some of y'all are pressed about the white people wedding. It literally means first wedding I've been to where the bride and groom and wedding party were white. It's really not that deep. Thanks for the engagement and see ya. Ultimately, I'm not actually pressed about the white people wedding thing. I do think she might be a little bit pressed if it was the other way around, though, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Our next thing. Our next Am I the A-hole So we're both on the same page that the writer may have been the a-hole
Yeah,
for not
I
doing
don't
further
think she's
research.
like a terrible person, but I think she was in the wrong in that situation.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, next, am I the a-hole? This is by OK Course 5710. I39F. Or wait, am I the a-hole for setting boundaries with my boyfriend's daughter? Okay, starting off strong. I, 39 female, have been in with my boyfriend for a little over 2 years, and I've known his children for about 6 months. He has two daughters with his ex-wife who are 16 and 10. 16 and 10. So he had them pretty young as well, like 23. 23 and like 29. Interesting. Their mother is married and they both seem very close to their stepdad, which I am very happy for them. However, I've gotten to know them and it's become really obvious that they view him as more of a parental figure than me. Even their actual fathers at time. His older daughter even took her to her driving test in her stepdad's car. They both call their stepfather dad, and while they seem to respect and appreciate him more, his older daughter is over the top with it. Eventually, I asked them to both stop calling him dad. To their credit, they did seem like they were trying not to in front of my boyfriend. And for a few weeks, everything seemed fine. However, I found out later from his younger daughter that his older daughter still does it when we're not around. Okay, interesting. Next time I saw her was 2 weeks ago. I sat her down to talk about it, which she didn't want to, but I was firm. I told him that if she was old enough to drive, she was old enough to understand that households rules apply even when outside of the house. She just rolled her eyes at me and told me to mind my business. I was frustrated, but didn't think it was that big of a deal. My boyfriend told me that he agrees with me, but I should have let it go, and I told him that wouldn't teach her anything. It was actually her mother who was the most upset about it. She called me after the boyfriend dropped his daughters off at her house the next day and told me I had no business telling her daughter what to call her husband when I was way out of line. She went on and on about how if I actually cared about them, I'd be happy that they have a father figure since my boyfriend wasn't doing it. I told her that was enough and my boyfriend was a good father, and she hung up. His older daughter isn't speaking to either of us now and skipped her last visit with us. Am I the a-hole? You are. That's my gut feeling. What do you think?
I don't think it's really like you can't really tell someone you can't call someone dad.
Agreed. I honestly agree. From what it sounds like, obviously I don't know the intricacies, the intricate details of where their situation is, but it seems as if the boyfriend does not have even half custody of these kids. If she saw her 2 weeks ago and she skipped one visit with them, what I would imagine is that it's like some type of weekend or weekday visit, which feels like ultimately her boyfriend is totally fine with being checked out of his daughter's lives. On top of that, when she wanted to reprimand his daughter, he was okay with that. Ultimately, I feel like he could have stepped in and reprimanded his daughter himself rather than letting his girlfriend reprimand his daughter if it was that big of a deal to him.
Yeah, like I see where she's coming from, but like, and that she like might like not think that's okay, but you can't really like tell someone you can't call someone dad.
Agreed. You can't tell anyone you can't call somebody dad. That's like saying you
Right.
can't call, like let's say let's look at this, okay? So if I was very close to a friend and I started calling my friend Uncle John, let's just say John. I'm close with this guy named John, okay? And start calling him Uncle John, okay? Um, and my wife says, "Yo, I know the kids are already actively calling him Uncle John, but we're gonna need to stop that. He's not your brother." It's not necessarily okay, you know? I mean, I think Unc is kind of like a pretty common thing for people to call friends of the family, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like if ultimately somebody else was let's say my brother Jersey was like, "Yo, he's not your uncle." Like, I mean, it's a little bit different of a circumstance, but I think ultimately the kids are gonna call the person what they perceive the person, you know?
Facts.
And
Yeah, I
so if the
agree.
boyfriend's I don't know. I think like these people are expecting to come on here for some validation, maybe. They won a participation award. And ultimately, we're just calling them all the names in the book, man. That's what I'm saying. Okay, next. This one is... Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, hold up. It got deleted, remember. No, this one's real, though. Okay. AITA. Foretelling my nephew to either get a haircut or find somewhere else to live. We're starting very strong right now, okay? We're starting very strong. My nephew, let's say Andy. Shout out Andy. I got a brother named Andy. W Mans. Moved in with me and my fiance a few months ago while he goes to school out of state. My GF, his blood aunt, was too kind to just stand by and watch her nephew struggle financially, so we took him in. Perfect. He was great at first. He is 17, so our kids, 5 girl, 8M, 10M, took to him instantly and saw him as their cool cousin. He is great with the kids and had no issue babysitting them for us. I can't really complain about the boy's behavior. He's polite, kind, and generally a nice boy. Everything was absolutely fine for the first month, but after a while, my middle son started acting up. Andy has very long, often dyed hair around waist length. Our 8-year-old started asking if he was allowed to wear his hair like his cousin. He would complain constantly that he didn't have cool hair, and whenever we told him he can't grow his hair out at the minute, he have a complete tantrum. He, like our other kids, go to a private school, and whilst long hair is not against any rules, it is frowned upon, and they don't think it looks very smart. That's crazy. This continued for a long while, until a couple days ago, my 8-year-old all but strutted into the room and told us he can have his hair however he wants, and he's bigger, and there's nothing his stupid mom and dad can do about it. When I asked him where he got this idea from, he said Andy told him. I spoke to Andy, and though he didn't say the stupid mom and dad part, he admitted he told his cousin that when he's older, he'd be able to do whatever he wants with his hair, which is fine. He could have long hair when he's older if he wants to. But our 8-year-old has started telling us all the things he can do when he's older and how we can't do anything about it. Just generally getting quite an attitude. I do blame Andy for this. He should have just told him that he couldn't have long hair. It all came down to a head yesterday when I snapped at Andy and he was brushing his hair and getting comments from our son about how jealous he was of his hair. I was sick of all the hair talk, so I yelled at my nephew and told him he could either get his hair cut to a normal length or find somewhere else to stay. I was sick of my son acting like a jealous little girl. No kid should have fixated on hair for gosh sake. My wife and I had a fight. She thinks I was completely in the wrong, but Andy hasn't spoken to me at all. He didn't even argue back. That's what makes me regret my outburst a little bit. He looked so sad. I didn't mean it. If he tries to speak to me again, I will apologize sincerely, but I do think the silent treatment is a bit over the top. He knows I wouldn't try to hurt him on purpose. So, AITA here.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
I think they're the asshole.
First off, the first comment is basically accusing him that it's fake. At the start, he said girlfriend. In the middle, he said fiance. And at the end, he said wife. It could be that during that, or at the start, he said fiance. Middle, he said girlfriend. End, he said wife. Could just be that they got married recently. And so it's confusing for him to write it. But ultimately, I think it's pretty obvious, this one. Clearly, the guy is an a-hole. You can't really tell somebody what to do with their hair. I think ultimately, he's going to do with his hair what he's going to do with his hair. Maybe if you wanted to push the issue of, why did you tell my son this and that? You need to help discourage this issue. You're an adult in the household type thing. It would have been better. But, also, why are you so obsessed with your kid having short hair? I think ultimately, if it's not my kid, and I guess if the private school says you can't have long hair, you can't have long hair, but it didn't say you can't have long hair. It said you don't they don't want you to have long hair because it makes you look stupid. That doesn't make any sense. You know who else had long hair? Jesus, huh? Did he look
Ooh, got him
stupid?
with that one.
Did he look stupid?
No.
Did the most followed guy ever look stupid? Do girls look stupid, huh? Are you a misogynist? You like massaging people? Huh? That's crazy. This guy is the a-hole. I was expecting like some type of come around or something like to oh my gosh. I just looked at the a-hole for calling my wife fat.
Yeah, that was the one I was laughing at.
Okay, we got to read this one. We got to read this one. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is a long story. Okay, quick. Speed run. AITA for calling my wife fat. I, 34M, work in a physically demanding field. Myself and my coworkers are all fit people without a lot of body type variety. My wife, 32F, is fat. The thing is, she's always been fat the whole time I've known her. We dated and when she was fat. We got married when she was fat. She knows she's fat. She's fat and she's beautiful. I'm happy if she loses weight. I'm happy if she stays where she is. I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world as is. This is starting off great, actually. That title is kind of a little sketch, though. One of my coworkers, Julia, 28F, started complaining that she's too fat to be loved, and fat people don't get to be loved. Julia isn't fat. She's maybe 120 pounds. Works out 5 times a week and barely ever eats. I told her that wasn't true and my wife was fat. She got really red in the face and started telling me I wasn't allowed to call my wife fat, that I was insulting her and my wife was beautiful and curvy. Carol doesn't like being called curvy. She thinks it's a label to avoid calling people fat because it's a dirty word to most people. I told Julia as much. Julia started threatening to tell my wife I called her fat. She pulled up her Instagram and told me she was messaging Carol that I was being mean. I beat her to the punch, called my wife, put her on speaker, and asked if she was curvy or fat. Carol laughed and asked, I hate that curvy fat and beautiful baby. I thanked her, told her I loved her, and hung up. As soon as I hit end, Julia went mental. Dang, okay. She started screaming that I was abusing my wife, and when I asked how, she said I was clearly brainwashing her into accepting the term fat to try to keep her complacent and getting away from me. But no woman in her right mind could be okay with their husband calling them fat. I showed her a picture of my wife in a shirt that had BBW on it. She bought it for herself, by the way. She stormed off and hasn't spoke to me since. Now, I just walked in today and got an email from HR requesting a meeting with me. I don't think it's a big deal. I have my wife's blog for fat positivity, the shirt, and it can easily call her for all the proof. But now things are frigid at work, and Julia constantly gives me dirty looks when we're in the same room. She ignores me otherwise. So I'm just over here scratching my head. AITA for calling my wife fat. Interesting. So it sounds like you're not at all. Personally, what do you think?
I think that he's not the asshole.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, I agree. I think that, if that's the normal language that they use in their house, and he's not using it to fat shame her, ultimately, that's not an issue, okay? At the start, I was definitely worried that he was going to randomly say, you're fat, you need to lose some weight type thing, and that would have been messed up. Because if he knew she was like that going into it, ultimately, you can't ask somebody to change how they are unless they personally want to do it themselves. But it doesn't seem like he cares at all. It seems like he actually prefers BBWs. Which, ultimately is something that people like. But anyways, he's got an update as well. So I met with HR at 4 today. Apparently, also we're doing an AITA in the YouTube chat. Just so you guys know, we're doing a video. So I met with HR today at 4. Apparently, multiple coworkers have overheard the conversation and stopped by HR through the day to give their side/weigh in. I wasn't in any trouble, but they just wanted my side of things. It checked out with everyone else had said too. I still don't know which of my crew stopped by, but I owe them my life. I offered to show my wife's blog to our rep, and our rep, who's a really nice girl, told me that if it didn't affect my work, it was irrelevant. The story had been corroborated enough by others. HR reiterated a lot of what y'all said. Even though Julia initiated the conversation, I shouldn't have jumped in. It was less of a scolding and more of a request to keep my nose out of other people's business. I'm sad because I thought Julia and I were friends. We talked about our mental health struggles, the hardships of the field we're in, and heavy things like that. Won't be having those conversations any further. Julia and I will no longer be paired on teams for patient care. I was told my part in the investigation was done, and they thanked me for my time, so I think I'm going to be okay. Before I left, I told HR that if weight loss / body image wasn't supposed to be a topic of conversation, they should consider enforcing that on a company level. We have a weight loss challenge. I suggest making a fitness challenge instead. She said they'd take it into consideration. So that's it. I wrapped up my treatments. Everything will hopefully shake out. Haven't spoken to Julia, hoping to avoid her in the near future. Thank you all for my sanity check. Now to quote Clue, I'm going to go home and... Oh, interesting. We don't have to read that last part, apparently. We do not have to read that last part. But anyways, guys, honestly, I think Julia doesn't understand body positivity. It's almost like she feels like the word fat is a negative thing and only a negative thing, which, I mean, is honestly, I don't know. In my vocabulary, when I call people, if I was to call somebody fat, not when I call people fat, I don't call people fat for real, but if I was to call somebody fat, it would mean something bad. So, like, yeah, I understand where she's coming from there, but, like, also, she totally doesn't, they totally don't consider that word an insult. You know? What do you think, Isaac?
Yeah. I think that if the wife's fine with it, I mean, I don't see what the problem is.
Super valid take, honestly. I think ultimately it's a relationship thing, not a public thing. And ultimately, maybe he
Facts.
shouldn't have weighed in on the conversation. Ultimately, kind of sounds like Julia's a pick me, honestly. Can I use that word,
Still
chat?
is it was kind of crazy just to say my wife is fat in a conversation though.
No. I'm just saying because she was like, I'm so fat, and she was like 120 pounds according to his thing.
Yeah, that's how most women be. I can't lie.
That's crazy. Now Isaac likes massaging people, don't you?
Yeah,
You just love massaging people, huh?
facts.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. I feel Isaac. I'm sensing BBW aura coming from you though.
No, no, you're not.
No, I'm sensing BBW aura.
No,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
no, I'm really good though.
What?
I'm good.
Okay.
Like that ain't me.
Okay.
To each their own though.
Okay. AITA for taking advantage of my wife or my GF. That's crazy. I feel like I'm gonna get flamed, so throw away. My GF and I have been together for 3 years. Since we started dating, we have a tradition of paying for each other for dinner for our birthdays. We don't have a limit on how much that meal would cost. My GF doesn't drink. She at most has a mocktail or sparkling water. I usually pay 100 to 150 for both of us for her birthday dinner. My birthday was 2 days ago. We went out. I drink, which my GF doesn't, and she thinks it's a waste of money. But it's my birthday. She agreed to pay for anything. I had 8 drinks and a steak at the dessert and a steakhouse, which would cost about 200, and with her $70 meal, it came up to 310 with tips. She didn't say anything at the time, but last night blew up for me, so drinking so much money and expecting me to cover it. Interesting. I defended myself because it was technically unlimited, and no, I wasn't drunk. I have a pretty high tolerance, so it's not fair. I can't enjoy myself. She's pretty frugal, so she thinks it's a crazy amount, and I was an asshole for leaving her with this high of a bill. We agreed we pay for each other's meals and drinks. It's not my fault. She doesn't normally get more than one drink, and it's non-alcoholic, so it's cheaper. But she has been ignoring me and refusing to talk about it. But if she's upset, I'll reimburse her for my portion. But then, that's the end of our tradition. Interesting. What are you thinking?
I think he's definitely the asshole, and he's an idiot for even trying to defend that.
You think?
Yes.
All right. I think ultimately a bad thing came out of that, okay? And a bad thing came out of that because ultimately he knows that she doesn't order a lot, okay? He knows that, and he pays for it anyways, you know? She probably knows the type of guy he is. And because it's been a tradition to go out and do stuff like this, him only taking advantage of it after 3 years is the crazy part to me. You know? Because I feel like she should have expected something like this to happen and maybe compensated by going somewhere big herself. Or, you know, if it's a tradition, just go to like the fanciest restaurant in your entire town and, you know, get him back, bro. Get him back. On top of that, he did offer to reimburse her, you know? He did offer that. So, because he offered to reimburse her, because he didn't technically mean to make her mad, ultimately, I think, since he was just simply going out and enjoying himself, depending on his intentions, which it doesn't seem like he had poor intentions, I don't think he is. You know?
Okay, but also, he said that's the end of the tradition if I have to reimburse her. So he doesn't want to reimburse her.
No, he said if she's that upset, I'll reimburse her for my portion.
Yeah, but then he said that also it's the end of that tradition.
Yeah, he did. He said, but then that's the end of the tradition. And it is the end of the tradition if he reimburses her. So he is correct.
I think that $300 is insane.
But to be fair, she could go out and spend $310 with tips on her next time too, if she's angry about it.
Then she's just as bad.
True. But also, you know, why would you start a tradition like this to begin with? You know, I feel like she could have... Here's what I think she could have done. Instead of blowing up after the fact, I think she should have said, hey, you want to slow down on that? You know how I feel about alcohol. Can you please... we're getting a little bit high here. We're getting a little bit high with the money. I want to pay for your birthday stuff, but I don't want to pay for a $300 check. You know? I think ultimately she lost because she didn't communicate in the time of them doing it. Instead, she communicated after she paid. Which makes me think she was fine with it in the moment, but then she thought about it later, and then she got angry.
She also probably just didn't want to ruin the moment, though.
Yeah, but ultimately, you can ruin the moment after the fact, too.
That's true.
She just ruined a memory, you know?
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if she would have politely taken him to the side and said, hey, you know how I feel about drinking. I don't have a lot. I'm trying to save some money right now. Can we slow down on the drinks? You know? Also, she got a $70 meal. It said it costed $200, and with her $70 meal, it came to $310 with tips. So she chose to tip $40, which is very valid. And on top of that, his drinks were worth $130. So she could have stopped him at the halfway point. She could have stopped him at, $60. She could have stopped him at $50 of drinks. Especially since she kind of knows how much they cost, you know? I think ultimately he was celebrating his birthday. He wasn't thinking about it. And, because he said he's not a lightweight. He's somebody who can drink a lot. I think ultimately in this scenario, she should have communicated. That's how I feel. You know?
What is Jack?
But also, I think there's a separate section of it too, because if we heard her side and she was kind of throwing subtle hints, then he absolutely is. Because we are hearing his side of the story too.
Yeah.
What does chat think? What do y'all think? A-hole or not a-hole? Me one chat. Kelly says not. Not. That was really late.
Did you just do a cricket?
Not. Dude, 3 people just said not in a row. Chat, I think I'm cooking. M Tuck said not in the YouTube chat too. I think I'm cooking. Chat. With that being said, though, I want to very clearly, I want to clarify here. If the girl threw subtle hints throughout the night, then he absolutely is. Because she was trying not to ruin the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just my debate skills being good or streamer bias. Could also be streamer bias. Cookie said not in 2 chats. That's kind of crazy. All right. Well, this was a good video. Tell me if I should do more of these videos and come to Twitch stream so you can be live here.